Welcome back. You're watching News Hour. It's the second hour of the show and we get into our discussion. Tonight we focus on devolution, but not just that, the biting drought in the country, where Kenya is undergoing its worst drought in over 40 years. The prolonged drought that has left over 5.5 million people facing hunger, according to the United Nations, and the drought equally playing a part in funding inflation that we're currently experiencing in the country. So today or tonight, we host two governors who are from ASAL affected counties or ASAL counties affected by the drought in one way or the other. So they definitely have the tremendous task to mitigate the drought effects in their counties in collaboration with the national government. We just want to get a feel of the state of affairs on the ground. I'm joined by two governors. The first one from Samburu County, Governor Lele Leet is joining me right here in studio. It's great to have you with us, sir. Asante sana for your time. Equally joined by Garissa County Governor Nadhif Jama, who also happens to chair the ASAL committee at the Council of Governors. So proper insights in this particular discussion on the drought issue and mitigation measures thereafter. Asante sana for your time, Nadhif. It's a pleasure to have you with us, gentlemen. And perhaps you can start by listening to what the PS for Social Protection had to say in terms of the relief food that is being distributed in affected counties. Just listen in briefly.
Mwenye ataweka mkono kwa hiki chakula, mimi mnajua. That guy will be arrested on the spot. Na tunaomba media pia. Be our ombudsman. Monitor the food. Kama inafika ama ifiki. Peana report. Kama inaibiwa, media na wananchi. Wananchi pia mumue macho. Chakula kikija kwenu msiruhusu. Chifu aweke kwa store. Ukiona chakula imewekwa kwa store siku moja mbili, raise an alarm.
All right, so in terms of protecting the food that is being delivered to counties, we make sure it reaches the intended recipients. And we'll have a discussion about that and plenty much more. Governor let me get it right, Lele Leet. Yes. Thank you so much for your time. Perhaps let me start with you. In terms of the numbers in Samburu County, what are you experiencing in the ground in terms of those affected by drought?
Okay. Thank you, Jesse, for inviting us here today. And I just came from Samburu, straight to here. And every statistics available today in Kenya, non-state and state actors, is showing a very dire situation for our country. In particular, a very dire situation for 10 counties. And the statistics done by everybody is converging on the same. The 10 counties are in alarm situation, they're in dire situation, and Samburu is one of them. In my county, more than half of the population today requires urgent humanitarian help. And you just put in the PS. And we've done so much as counties, the much we can. I've just distributed about 15,000 bags around the county, just to keep our people going.
And was that from the national government?
That from the county government. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
Because when the PS was launching that food on the 19th of October, and we have a working president who I support very much, and I want to believe that these people who are sabotaging the president before election are still doing the same. Because that day they launched 20,000 bags for the whole country. In one single round, I do what is required by Samburu is about 25,000 bags. I do about 15,000. Okay. So you can imagine a situation where a minister, a PS, and everybody launches 20,000 bags for the whole country. In that, the amount of food we received that day was about 600 bags for the entire county of Samburu. And I've just told you that I need about 25,000 bags to just do one round of supplies for, and we intend to do that on a monthly basis, as long as our money can take us to get there. So I'm very happy that the president today has his own cabinet, and I know things will start working very well. But I just can't believe that the PS and the minister of the time could launch for the whole country 20,000 bags which is an equivalent of what one county needs. You know, I can only see sabotage and people not being serious on this drought. As I told you, half of my population is in dire need of humanitarian. That is a statistic.
Right.
For those of us from the ground, we can see a very different scenario from what has always been with our people. You know, you can see people, mass migration of livestock. You see, you know, when you call for these relief foods, you see a lot of people coming. Usually our people don't attend meetings so much because they, you know, their pastoral is in nature. So they keep livestock, and most of the time they are herding in the fields. So when you see so many people just coming because you've called for a small relief food, you know that the situation is dire. Our schools are closing. Even the wildlife itself in Samburu, we are now actually buying hay for our grave Seburas and everything else, because things are really bad, my friend. But so far, we've done so much as counties. We are doing water tracking. I do about 100 trips of 20,000 liters just to supplement areas that require water. We do spend a lot of money rehabilitating boreholes. We spend a lot of money. Communities that used to buy fuel for their own boreholes,
right.
Now it's the county government that's subsidizing for those boreholes. As you put it right, this drought has never been seen in the last 40 years. So every single statistic, everything in the ground points at a very dire situation, and we need to get serious as a country. I'm very glad again that the president now has a cabinet that will work for him.
Right.
Because the previous cabinet, I don't think they were serious in the kind of situation that we are facing.
So you're looking forward to more relief food being distributed by the national government to counties?
I hope so.
Okay.
Because we've taken off almost every development activity in my county, so that we can get our people focused on food distribution. I told you we require about 25 or 20 to 25,000 bags, say, of rice or cornmeal every month, just to keep our people going. We are doing now 15,000 as a county. That's how we can afford, and we can only run that one for about 3 months. We hope the national government can join us now and help us get fill the gap.
And let's hear from the Garissa Governor, Nadif Jama. What's the situation in your county? But equally, give us the stand of the Council of Governors, as you happen to chair the committee that is touching on the drought situation in the ASAL counties. Yeah.
Many thanks, Jesse, first of all, for giving us the opportunity tonight to discuss a very, very important issue. I think really much has been said by my colleague, and more or less Garissa County will be about the same. I think currently the numbers for my county read like about 328,000 people are badly affected, about 68,000 families or so. But more also serious is the livestock that is really, you know, what most of these people were depending on is now entirely almost really, you know, being affected very, very badly. I think my you know, my position also as the chair of the council is really, this is not something occurring for the first time, Jesse.
Sure.
I think what I would want to say to Kenyans, and to Kenya for that matter, and to our government, the national government that is for really now to think long-term interventions. You see, as the governor was saying, yes, we do see once in a while maybe you know, some food being sent out by national government. We are also equally doing, you know, our bit in terms of food distribution. We also have development partners, NGOs, who also do their bit. But I think just the reality is, I think time has come now for us as a country to think on long-term drought mitigation initiatives.
And from where you sit, what's long-term? Because many say flagging off relief food is only treating the symptoms, not the real issue at hand. Well, what should we do as a country?
Yeah, I think that's the question we need to really sit down and address on a very, very serious note. I think for me, long-term is, we now know that drought is a reality. We know that climate change is here as a reality.
True.
So we need to go for major dryland agricultural farming schemes, settlement schemes for the ASAL counties, particularly those which are most affected, like our two counties. We do have opportunities. We do have water, whether from aquifers or from rivers. So all that we need is now really knowing that drought is a reality, which comes on every now and then. Can we then think of real serious dry land farming agricultural activities, so that we are in a position to settle our people when these calamities occur, as opposed to rushing out with little bit of foods. How do we settle the families that get affected? How do we protect the little bit livestock or the livestock that's their livelihood? I think these are the long-term issues that really are questions that we need to address together, both as county government and the national government, and for that matter also the development agencies.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's really proper. And perhaps let me include a different angle, because we're looking at pictures on our screens of cattle that has been affected, and you both happen to be domiciled in counties that have large pastoralist communities. Let's focus on livestock offtake program. Gentlemen, what progress have you made in terms of perhaps talking with the revamped, is it KMC, in order to perhaps alleviate the losses on these communities that rely so much on their cattle for their daily livelihoods? Perhaps you can start with you, Bwana Governor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse. One of the requests that we placed on the national government is an offtake program, because, for example, in Samburu, we have about 10,000 heads of cattle that need to be taken to KMC so that we can have these people sustain their lives. Otherwise, they will die off and we will lose as a country. We've done that, we've given those numbers to the national government, because, as you know, we don't have a capacity as the county governments to really do a big offtake of livestock because of the kind of monies that we get. Those are the kind of things we are waiting. As I said, we have a new cabinet, and I know it's a cabinet that works for the president. I hope very soon we will get into an offtake program for our livestock through the Kenya Meat Commission. If that doesn't happen in a few weeks or so, then we are facing a situation where, as a country, we are going to lose large stocks of livestock, and where that takes us. It takes us to a circle of poverty, where we will now have to continue helping those people after the drought. As many Kenyans are thinking, most agricultural Kenyan communities are thinking of fertilizer, are thinking of seeds, are thinking, ahead of themselves for the rains. For us pastoralists, the seed that we have is actually the cows that are dying today. So as the government focuses on way forward as we wait for the rains to help the farmers with the fertilizer and the seeds, our seeds are dying today. We have nothing for the rains if the government does not help us. But if an offtake program were to be done today, then our people will be able to keep that money in the bank, maybe use some to buy food, but when it rains, they can use that money to restock back, and so that we can also be part of the Kenyan economy as a pastoralist community when the rains come.
Okay.
Sadly, as I told you, with the migration of livestock to various places where there are spots of pastures, we are getting also a lot of problems with some other agencies. For the cows of Samburu and Laikipia who migrate for grasses, just yesterday, and I hope you guys report some of these things.
Yes, we do.
Because part of the job of the media is actually to advocate for the common man. So, you have an us to camp in a place called Kagwanja with askaris who don't even follow cows when they are being stolen or raided. But they spend time and look for a day to have a beef party. Basically, to go kill cows, round off those killed cows, bring them to the camps, and start celebrating. And when you have people who are struggling to go through the drought, and you have people who are criminalizing pastoralism and going all the way. That was yesterday, and I've not seen any media house here.
Okay. Unfortunately,
Askaris,
yes. Okay.
Going, rounding up livestock, killing them, making sure that they put all those killed livestock into their lorries, taking them back and have them in the camps. And all the contacts we have from the camp people, they tell us that we organize for beef parties. And during the last regime, people are not able to speak because you never know what you'll be told. But now that we have a new government, we ask for immediate investigation on how Askaris could be killing cows. When you talk to these people, they say, we had a fire exchange with the herders. But I've seen fire exchanges many times. And when you have a fire exchange, there is no way that you cannot have an injury in any of the sites. So in all these beef events that they go to, you'll never have an injury of anybody, not a soldier, not a cow herders. And I don't ask them to go injure people now, because those people, they are killing cows, are not armed. They go there to create a situation where they can have meat in those camps. I want to ask the IG today to go investigate us two officers in that Kagwanja camp who are just killing Samburu cows. Once they finish eating the beef, they go back. And why am I saying this? Because these are people who are running away from drought. They are in that dire situation, in that dire bracket that I said. Then you have other people who are marrying on their livestock. I mean, and you guys don't report.
It's an unfortunate scenario, but we definitely try our best as members of the Fourth Estate, and that's why you're here, Governor. But equally, let's get a feel of the offtake program, if any, in terms of progress that has been done in Garissa County, because it definitely affects your residents who largely are pastoralists.
Yeah, I think, just without going into details, the KMC did have a program in a number of counties, not just in Garissa. But again, there's something that we must appreciate, that the drought also is occurring in a big way at the time when the country was in elections, and when actually budgetary also allocations and treasury, things are not moving as fast as was required. What I know is that KMC did something in Garissa. The first phase of that served about 10,000 families, but that program now again is over. They are now waiting to start a second phase. The KMC does or undertakes these activities through Kenya Red Cross. So we are in touch with Kenya Red Cross. That first phase is over, and now they hope they are in a position to start a second phase soon. And I think this also was mentioned by the Deputy President sometimes back, that some allocation will be released soon to support that initiative.
Is there any time frame around this soon? Is there any assurance of when?
Again, I think without necessarily blaming any party, again, it's a matter of really the allocations and how fast the budgetary issues can be moved to support. Obviously, the situation demands for much quicker actions than later.
True, because one life is too much. And since you've brought up matters to do with funds, allocation of funds, in terms of the funds that you expect from the national government, the equitable share, well, what's the status as we speak right now? Have you received the months? Are we a little bit backdated in terms of the funds being released to the counties?
Not really. I think we are. I think we are 2 months now behind. I think now.
So that's September, October.
September, October. So basically, again, this is another additional, shall I say, unfortunate situation, because the non-payment of salaries to the county staff on time, at a time, but this also adds to the unfortunate situation, because with a lot of livestock dead, with a lot of pastoralist communities now moving to the towns, we do have a lot of urban poor, and those need to be supported by their families who are supposed to be earning salaries on time. It's unfortunate, and this is of course a matter that has been discussed, and the discussion is on between us and the Treasury as to why really county monies are delayed. And I don't think the answers have been forthcoming very well, because as one of our colleagues was saying, how it happens that the national government and staff are paid on time, the county governments are delayed, And that imbalance itself is not even good for, the families themselves,
True.
Yeah.
And perhaps, as you add upon that point, we had the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, speak about absorption of funds in counties. That I think he put a figure of around 30 billion being held by counties that hasn't been used thus far. And this was during the recent meeting that he chaired. Perhaps your insights into why counties hold on to such funds, and his proposal that the faster you absorb your funds, the faster you get the equitable share. Well, what's your take on that?
Jesse, I keep on saying we have to allow the new government to work, because I know we got into a mess just before the elections.
Okay.
I mean the years before elections. So that one I excuse we have to give the new government to work, and I am very optimistic that it will work. But if being a new governor, and I've gone through a few things in the county now, you have almost in every county in Kenya a delay of 2 months, meaning most of us have only received August disbursements. Most of the counties, almost 90%.
Okay.
If we were to follow the law, the PFM Act is very clear. Section 17, subsection 6 is very clear on how money should be disbursed to counties.
And when?
It is very clear, and when. It's very clear. It says, before the beginning of any quarter, of the quarter ahead of us, 15 days before that quarter, you release money for the entire quarter. Maybe it's not physically possible, but that's what the law says. But then you would imagine a situation where we are supposed to release money to counties ahead of the quarter. You would expect a worst case scenario to be a situation where we receive money exactly on that particular month that we are supposed to spend, because we have salaries and everything else.
Yeah.
But what is happening today? We are all 2 months in delay, meaning the money that I have for Samburu County is the monies for August. I have nothing for September, and I have nothing for October. In a serious drought situation, because this is an extraordinary time, that is also could be something that we can tolerate if we're in a normal situation. In a situation where Samburu and Garissa and other counties are categorized as in dire need by every single statistics available. And for that, from the ground, as I told you, we can see these things live every day. So I want to ask the Treasury to please consider, as you consider all of us, consider these counties that have been categorized by every single researcher, by every non-state and state actors as in dire need.
But are you absorbing your funds?
I think
still back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm telling you, I don't know. If August is what I'm dealing with, how do you expect me to absorb September and October?
All right.
I mean, it's
it's
a fallacy.
Yeah.
That the issue of non-absorption of funds,
Yeah.
I think it's being taken out of context. Let me frankly say that.
Okay.
You see, we are just taking over counties. The funds that are in the accounts are funds basically that are for use. But again, if the previous governor, for instance, had planned for some activities for those funds, those activities may not necessarily be now a priority for me. So what some of us actually is the matter of trying to do supplementaries.
I get you.
A question of trying to get your government in place, your CECs, getting your assembly in place. So it's not really delay as such. It's a question of having to have a working government in place, do your supplementary, and then move into action. I don't think any sensible governor will just have monies lying idle in an account. The question is really the monies have to be moved and moved into action, following certain budgetary allocations as appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you finished forming your CECs, perhaps? Or you're in the process?
I think most counties now we're almost there.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I
That's
think,
really proper. And your case is a little bit different from his. As a first-time governor, you're back as a county chief after serving in the initial devolved function or devolved units. Perhaps it's not your first encounter with drought within Mandera County. And I know you've mentioned about long-term solutions, but what did you do then that worked, that you're planning to perhaps implement in order to alleviate the suffering of the Garissa residents? And what didn't work that perhaps you're walking away from, perhaps cash transfers? Just give us a little bit of details.
Well, yeah, I think we were very, very good, and we will still be good at food distribution, at water tankering, at supporting our people in the rural parts of the county with jobs that will serve them, particularly short-term jobs that will serve them at this kind of times.
Yeah.
In addition, of course, to ensuring that all our the NGOs and the development partners working with us, and for that matter also the national government, that we are all together, so it's a matter of coordination. It's a matter of coordination and coordinating well to alleviate or to mitigate the circumstances. But I think the point that I think I said earlier, and which of course I don't mind repeating, is the need now, given that the drought is getting more serious year after year, the need now for all of us to pool our resources together now for serious long-term interventions, so that we move now from emergency responses to sustainable long-term interventions.
Okay, yeah. Well noted, Governor. Perhaps your take on the effectiveness of relief food distribution that you're undertaking right now. What perhaps bottlenecks have you encountered, the challenges as well, so we avoid proliferation of this food, that it goes to the intended recipient? What have you done in your county to ensure that, whoever is in need of this food is actually getting it, no matter how little or much it is? Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse. We had preparatory meetings with the Deputy President, and I want to thank him for that, just before we started this program of humanitarian food relief. So those meetings helped us organize ourselves across the county in a way that it's reduced to challenges in terms of distribution.
Okay.
What we've done as a county is we have an overall county committee that now maps the whole county and tells us where to take the food to. That is the umbrella body at the county level. And this umbrella body has both the national government people and the county government people working hand in hand. We've taken these committees all the way to the village level. So at the sub-county, there is a committee that is delegated by the bigger committee to do the same, with certain ways of doing it. Then you go to the ward level, you get the same. You go to the village level, that's the same. Okay. And the people from both the national government and the county government are working all the way down. We also have in our county now a drought command center, where we receive daily updates, because as we speak, people are starving, and water is actually the biggest problem. So when we receive an emergency situation of water, it comes up to the command center, and we take an emergency step to rush water to that particular place. In cases also, we've seen food situations, and we rush food to those villages where we have problems. And so all the way down, we have a whole team of people working in collaboration, both the county and the national government. I think as a team, we are set to make sure the food is distributed in the most efficient way possible, and all we need now is food. As I said, we've not received much from the national government so far.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are planning on something. On the livestock offtake, you've also planned all the way to the villages, just in case the Kenya Meat Commission comes up and wants to and decides to help us on the offtake.
Yeah.
We know where to get these animals and how to get them.
Right.
So I want to report to you that we are set. We have a whole team of people all the way down to the villages. What we want is the real substance of food and offtake of livestock.
Okay, well noted, Governor. Perhaps you brought up an issue of paying your employees, and I want to divert the conversation just a little bit in terms of the wage bill that Garissa County is currently facing. And we've had about the new governors who've come into office mention of, the challenges they have in terms of dealing with the ballooning wage bill in the counties. Is this the case in Garissa County? What are you looking up in terms of the wage bill? The percentage, as we well know, has actually been capped. The recommended wage bill cap is at 35%. Are you within this, or are you working towards weeding out ghost workers and whatnot in order to achieve that particular cap?
Yeah, I think just let me say without fear of contradiction that we are indeed well above the cap, as you said. We are quite above the cap. And of course, I think in as much as I realize that a lot of stuff, a lot of employments were made, in the last government, or the previous government for that matter. But also one thing that I must mention is Garissa used to be the headquarters of Northeastern Province before devolution, and therefore we inherited a large number of national government staff, and a large number of county or municipal county, council also staff. So in essence, we already had a huge wage bill, even just as we were starting devolution. So, and of course, over the years, with the demand, the wage bill continued to rise, and we do at the moment indeed have a very, very disturbing level of wage bill. But that said, we are working. We are doing our audits, i.e. HR audits, to see how we may come to terms with that particular aspect of our operations. Yeah.
And I know it's a tough place to be, because you can't hire and fire at your own will. Of course, there's a process that needs to be followed. Perhaps you can hear about your take in Samburu. I'm just looking at the numbers right now. And the report from the COB shows that Samburu spent a whopping 1.7 billion on recurrent expenditure. That's before you came to office, 21-22 financial year, while using only 604 million for development programs. So my question will be, what are you doing to reduce the wage bill in your county while not affecting service delivery to the residents who voted you in and are expecting services to be rendered to them?
Jesse, to be fair, and I'm a new governor, so I could take the easy route to blame the previous regime.
Please don't,
But I won't do that, because first of all, I find those statistics to be inaccurate. If you were to take 1.7 billion plus 600 million, you are at what? 2.3 billion.
Yeah, thereabout.
So even without anything else, that is not the kind of money that Samburu County receives.
Then tell us the true state of affairs.
So the statistics are wrong. I think the budget for Samburu before I came in was in those years before I came in that particular financial year, is about 6-point-something billion, and the numbers that I have in my office is recurrent expenditure was about 4.1 billion. See, 4.1 billion. Very different from what you have.
All right.
Then development was 1.8 billion.
All right.
So those are the real numbers. How the COB got the numbers, I have no idea.
So
but I don't blame the people who are there before me, because numbers tell a different story. So those are the numbers that are in Samburu now, 1.8 and 4.1.
Is it above the wage cap?
I'll get there. So of the 4.1 in terms of recurrent expenditure, about 2.1 was spent on wages, basically paying people. Then the other about 1.9 billion was for expenditures, other expenditures that you call recurrent. So those are the numbers. You can put any face you want on the numbers, but let's be correct on the numbers first.
Thanks for the clarification.
On the wage bill, as we speak now, the numbers in Samburu for the wage bill is 38%, 38.4%. And the number set by the SRC for wage bill is 35%. That is the ceiling that is set by SRC. I find it arbitrary, because it's not based on any science, not based on anything. We are slightly above by about 3%. We, as a Council of Governors, we are trying to, because what happened, we inherited so many people from the national government, And some of the functions that were devolved to the county governments, the monies didn't follow their functions. So you have a function, but you don't have the money.
Okay.
So really, when you look at this wage bill, it is based on those factors that were not taken care of. How do we take care of the wage bill in the situation we are in? In Samburu, we've decided to take these steps. Step number one, we want to bring an independent human resource auditor to audit all our staff in the county, to make sure that our payroll is clean of any ghost workers if they are, to make sure that we pay people for the services that they offer. So we're planning to bring an independent auditor to clean up our payroll. I'm sure he will get into some things when he gets there. We want also to do a head count on top of the audit that we are bringing in. So I think after those things, we can see what numbers are available. After cleaning the payroll, I think we can now sit down and say this is now the correct position in terms of our employees and wage bill.
And when do you expect this process to be concluded?
We've already in the process of trying to procure somebody who will do that job.
Okay.
The drought is affecting us, Kido, but we plan to do that. On top of that, we also want to increase our revenues so that we can take care of our wage bill. You know, as revenues go up, the wage bill comes down. But you know, we have this. We like to demonize wages for workers, and I'm not an activist for workers. But if you were to ask any economist, you know, paying workers is actually a good way of spreading the economy. GDP that we talk of is not only made of investment. It's made of government expenditure. It's made of consumption, which comes from wages. It's made of you know, exports as it is, and everything else. So even paying so many people wages in a county actually spreads our GDP, and that's how we also bring our GDP. So we want to create employment. That's for sure, and we just want to make sure as a county that we pay people who are offering services. And that's why we want to do audit. Okay. So that if we pay Jesse because Jesse is working to do XYZ. All right. We pay this other man or lady because they're doing XYZ. Okay. Yeah.
That's well noted. And he's spoken about payment, and it brought me to the issue about pending bills, which is yet another headache for the governors who have ascended to office after the August 9th general election. What is the state of affairs in Garissa County? What did you inherit from the previous administration? Are you in the process of weeding out some of those pending bills that are questionable, using the right means so that we don't, you know, disenfranchise someone who invested in the county government and is still waiting up to date for money that is not yet forthcoming? Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, another very, very important issue, but also very sensitive, as you said rightly.
Right.
Of course, we did inherit, you know, a big number, but again, the numbers are not quite clear. We are getting different numbers. The COB has a number that they have shared with us. The books that we inherited saw something different. So really the best thing is, and this is the way forward, is for us to do an audit, serious audit again on matters of pending bills. Okay. Also ensure that we do not do any injustice, but again there must be value for money.
True.
So we'll do the audit to ensure that indeed first of all to establish the right numbers and to ensure that those numbers actually did add value to the county, so that you know, eventually we do not disadvantage neither a contractor or you know, any party for that, but also we must achieve value for money. We must see value for money to have taken place. Okay. So that audit is where we are now, and we hope that we will come to terms with that again, hopefully sooner than later.
Eventually, okay. And I was speaking to one of your counterparts from Bomet, Professor Barchok, and he happened to mention that he has a case of pending bills that you can actually see the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure, but the documentation is not there. You know, so perhaps if you have such a scenario, how exactly are you dealing with it so as not to disenfranchise, as we've talked about with Governor Jama, and make sure money goes to whoever it's intended to?
Jesse, I'll tell you what we have in Samburu.
Yeah.
In Samburu, we have pending bills of amounting to 844 million. 844 million. We have, since I took over, I have appointed a task force on pending bills. A task force of eminent men and women of Samburu to audit all those pending bills. And I want to assure all our suppliers that every single genuine bill will be paid by the county government of Samburu. But that task force is the one that will give us a go-ahead on what is genuine and what is not genuine. I want to believe that what's genuine, if you are supposed to construct a classroom, the classroom is complete and the infrastructure is there, the physical infrastructure is there, then you're doing well.
Okay.
But you're not also doing well until, because you know we have auditors, we have both internal and external auditors who will audit all our activities and also want to be people of integrity. The paperwork must correlate very well with the physical infrastructure. Once that those two things match together, I don't care your face, I don't care about, we'll pay you.
What if the paperwork isn't there?
If the
such
paperwork
a case
is not
like,
there, then we'll move to another level, and I'm sure there is a way we will get away on whether to pay or not. Maybe we'll involve other partners outside of the county government. But it's better if you have all the paperwork and you have the physical infrastructure in place.
All right.
That is what the law says. That is what we should do as county government. That is what we should do as suppliers, and that is the kind of work that we need in our country.
Okay.
Just of interest, I think in many cases it's the other way around. A lot of papers, but no
physical
work.
Yeah.
So it's really a question. Is relative or what you're dealing with. So it all ends up or boils down to serious audit, so that nobody is disadvantaged in terms of those who are claiming to have done work, but also there must be real work having been done. Must be
value for money.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's really proper. As we finalize, gentlemen, boosting own source revenue, because as much as we're waiting on the national government to distribute the funds, at times it's not on time as per the regulations and the laws, and that's why counties are pushed to look on ways in which to boost own source revenue, perhaps, you know, tourism on your end. Nadif Jama, perhaps let me start with you. What steps is your administration taking to implement an automated own source revenue collection system, which is very important in terms of boosting accountability? And equally, what are you doing to boost the OSR numbers in your county?
Yeah, I think that's really the elephant in the room. I must confess, and as you said rightly, I am coming back to do my second term, and I must get it right this time. So automation is the way forward, is the way to go. We are already in the process of tendering for a very good system, so that hopefully with the beginning of next year we are able to automate and move quickly with collected revenue. I have no doubt each of our counties has a lot of potential to increase own source revenue. Of course, issues such as the people, our people requiring a lot of civic education to pay what is due to the government. Of course, is another, particularly in communities such as those that we come from, pastoralist communities who are not used to really, but nevertheless we must move with that. They must appreciate. We'll do everything necessary in terms of giving them the required civic education and sensitizations, so that we collect revenue as much as possible. So I do believe that is really where we need to do a lot of work. And I personally, I'm onto that.
Okay, that's well noted. And perhaps as you add on source revenue, since we're talking about automation, in terms of the county payroll, I think it's called the IPPD, you know? So you don't manually pay your, county workers, and that might lead to pilferage of funds. What exactly have you done, or what process are you in to ensure that automation is there? And equally, tell us about the initiatives you're taking to boost on-source revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
On-source revenue, as the governor rightfully puts it, we all want to migrate to automation. I got a county when they're doing manually, but we are in the process of procuring an automated system of doing revenues. On-source revenues have gone down, particularly in my county, because most of the revenues were coming out of tourism. And with the COVID situation that we've had for the last few years, tourism has been really affected. I just came from Samburu National Reserve, which is one of the biggest sources of on-source revenue for our county. And bookings had gone as low as 20%. But things are picking now, which is really good. Tourism numbers are picking. We need to, the biggest challenge now is the drought situation, because the wildlife is not, a lot of wildlife has also migrated to where you can find water, and so we hope for the rains, but at least the COVID situation has subsided. I think as soon as we get into our main source of revenue, which is tourism, when there is no problem of COVID, we as a county will do well in terms of revenues. We will automate our revenues. We're also looking to diversify our revenue sources. If you look at our land rates in the county, they have never been paid for so many years. We want to go back and follow up on those outstanding bills. There is also a lot of mining in my county that's coming up, so we expect revenues to go up. And on the payroll situation that you're speaking about, we're doing everything possible to make sure that we have an integrated payroll system. But the kind of people that we are paying now out of the payroll system, people who play very essential services that are not taken up by the IPPD, which is like ECD teachers. We can't do without ECD teachers, and you must pay them. So unless the system is integrated into to have IPPD teachers, to have ECD teachers, we have no option but to pay our people, because they're helping us bring those small kids into up through the educational ladder. So that one we must. The other one is when we have employees with specialized skills, they're above 60 years of age, that would like to maintain within our county, so that they can offer essential services. The integrated system does not take up those kinds of employees above 60 years. Again, also for new employees, it takes time to absorb them, so we have to pay them. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the kind of situations that we have to accept, that as much as we want to have an integrated payroll system, there are situations where you must digress a little bit. And as I told you, how do you do without ECD teachers? Those small kids need education, and unless and until they're integrated into that system, we have no option but to pay them.
Interesting. Final words,
just on that one. On the issue of the IPPD versus, manual, the talk is rampant, yes, that we should migrate fully, if possible, to IPPD. But it's not as easy as that. I think the governor has said it very well. Even when you employ properly, employees through the system, still, there's a lot of time lag before they can be accommodated on the IPPD. Again, largely as a result of the backlog and the heavy pressure on the IPPD itself at the Treasury. So it's not as easy as that. I think it's something for us and the COB, the Controller of Budget, to sit down together so that we can see how we can balance the two in such a way that where it's necessary to use the manual, we continue using it, because there are definitely areas that it becomes necessary. Like you mentioned, the ECD teachers, we have, casual workers, in, say, remote parts of the country where you employ them for a month, 2 or 3. You couldn't put them on the IPPD. So really, it's not just as easy as that. So I think it's something we need to sit down with the COB and agree on a way forward, so that we not really necessarily, put up unnecessary pressure on the counties.
True. Okay. Final word in a minute or so, because we've talked about the drought situation, long-term solutions, most preferably own source revenue, pending bills, a couple of issues we've canvassed right now. But to the residents of Garissa County, your word to them in the next 5 years, your intention, what you're setting the ball rolling on in terms of, perhaps service delivery and your areas of focus. Just a minute or so as we finalize with the conversation.
Each of us came in, very, very strongly with strong manifestos, for that matter, to serve the people of his county, and we are on top of things. I think no governor will really waste the time in terms of wanting to move quickly with the promises he made to his people. Again, of course, depending on the circumstances, we've talked about even the delayed salaries and so on. These are issues, but nevertheless, we are on track.
Okay.
I think for me, the message I want to really pass from here, not only to the national government, but also to the very many development, I want to repeat myself on the matter of drought. It's high time, and I make a calling from here that it's high time all of us meet seriously, so that we can now discuss how we can mitigate drought in better ways, as opposed to emergency interventions.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because it's a vicious cycle. Many might argue, flagging not relief food year in, year out.
Absolutely.
Okay. Governor Lelelit, your final take.
I think you're asking us about manifestos.
In terms of areas of focus, implementation, what are you focusing on
really,
right now?
we just came out of an election, and we had promised our people to do certain things, and we want to assure them that we'll stay on course. One of the things I promised is peace and security in Baragoi. I know security is not part of what the county governments do, but I think we can do peace, and with the help of the national government, we can bring peace in Baragoi. There's really nothing much you can do when people are killing each other. I want to work hand in hand with the local communities, with the national government, to make sure that we have peace in our county. That is, the county government will invest in security roads, the county government will invest in rangers, will be taking care of livestock thefts, and the national government can join us in other areas. Water situation in our counties, most of our ASAL counties, is not only dire in drought situation, but it's a common occurrence in all situations. So we will invest in water harvesting, we will invest in borehole drilling, we will invest in make sure that when there are no rains, our people can access water. For the revenues that we need for our counties, we must invest in our tourism. And I just appointed a task force to look into ways and means to revive Samburu National Reserve, which is the heart of all tourism in Samburu. We used also to have a very special event annually in Maralal called Maralal Camel Derby. I want to assure the residents of Maralal that under my leadership will bring back Maralal's Camel Derby, and many other things, but those ones come on top.
I mean, we can't talk about everything
also,
in just this time.
One of the things that we really want to invest in these counties is education. So I have taken the initiative to add on to a bursary, so that most of our kids can get their school paid, their school fees paid, and they can go to school. So we promised we will follow on that course. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a matter of hitting the ground running for both of you gentlemen, and thank you so much for your time and your contribution right here as we evaluated a couple of issues. Governor Lelelit from Samburu County, Nadif Jama, Governor from Garissa County, just taking time to talk to us on a couple of issues, even as we continue looking for ways to mitigate the drought that is ravaging various parts of the country, including the ASAL counties that are hardest hit. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. Well, that marks the end of tonight's conversation on News Hour. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're adequately informed. Have yourself a good night. Let's meet tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.